Hello and welcome to another video from oorail. In this video we're going to show you how to put together a small boiler house scene. So on the oorail layout we have a section of the layout that I need to put in a kind of a scenic break. The brewery is over here on the right. We have the third rail line that runs along here, and then there's the wall, and then we basically have the outer loop of the first phase of the layout that goes this way. So King's Road tunnel is over here to the left, and so I needed something that would fit in this kind of lowercase or sort of triangular shaped section of the layout. So what I decided to do, since the brewery was here and I needed to kind of finish up how the kind of brewery complex was anyway, I decided that I would go and put a boiler house in here. Especially since the Metcalfe kit didn't come with one. So the first thing I did was I decided that section of layout is kind of hard to work on. It's not in any very easy space to get to. There's about 2.5 feet of baseboard in front of it, so it's not an easy piece to work on. So what I decided to do instead was put it on a kind of a card base and then just simply drop it in and glue it when it was done. So the first thing I had to do was create a template, and that's what you're looking at right here. And to create the template, all I did was I took a sheet of paper and I dropped it into the position where I wanted it, and I put one hand on the piece of paper to hold it in place, and I took the palm of my hand and simply ran it along the track a couple of times, pushing down on the rail to create an indentation in the paper. And then what I did was I took a marker and just ran the marker down that indentation. As you can see there, sort of overlapped it a little bit, and I simply cut it out. And so the shape that I ended up needing to complete was about like so. So this now gave me a template that I could go and go upstairs or go to the workbench and basically build the scene on it. And I knew that once I took it back down to the layout and dropped it in place, it would fit. So I obviously test fit it, so I dropped this into the layout and marked the edges on the baseboard, so I knew where it was going to end up, and then I simply took this and went upstairs. So what I did was I took the template and I basically used it to drew over it on a piece of I think it was 11 inch by 14 inch 2mm card, and I used that to create the base. And then what I did was I decided I needed to put sort of texture or something on the base before I put the boiler house on it. So before I did that, I decided to go and build a boiler house. And if you've been watching my Twitter account, you've seen I've built this about a week or so ago. And so this is the Scale Scenes boiler house. I believe I picked it up in a dark red brick texture, and it was very easy to build. It took me maybe an hour and a half to build it, and I wasn't really I was kind of taking my time. I was kind of doing other stuff at the same time, so I would kind of do a couple of steps, let the glue dry, and then go from there. Now there are a couple of little notes that I had here. For example, on step 10, it wasn't clear where the doorway edge caps, which way they should have been orientated, and after doing a little bit of research and looking at photos, I discovered that the darker end of it needs to be sitting at the bottom. And the other thing I noticed was that you need to run a felt tip pen around the door edges in order to hide the kind of white. But other than that, there wasn't really anything else. You can see there, it's only 24, 25, 26, 27 steps. And I think just to build a boiler house, the boiler house is finished, I think, after only 18 steps. So it's not bad. And then basically the end result looks like that. And so I ended up putting the boiler house basically in there. So before I show it to you, I wanted to show you some of the other stuff that we used to create this. So I went with some of the textures from modelrailwayscenery.com. Oh, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but the boiler house was from scalescenes.com. So I think guy's name is John Whiffen, and he does some pretty nice stuff in terms of buildings. So what I wanted to do was put some more realistic textures on the actual base. So what I went with were a couple of texture sheets from scenery.com. And so the first one I went with was cobblestones. So I figured with the brewery being maybe an older building, there's a good chance that the interior would be more unlikely to be cement. It would be more likely to be maybe an older type of surface like cobblestones. So I put cobblestones, kind of creating a driveway from the back here of the kind of went onto where the railway is, and then down along the side of the building, and then kind of a courtyard type area in the front. So all this, I basically used the cobblestones texture sheet, and I believe, so if I have it here, the cobblestones texture sheet is actually here. It's TX 2600 is the product code, and you can download that from scenery.com, and you can see there this is a full sheet that I printed out. So this sheet's actually a little bit larger than A4. It's a US letter sheet, but it allows me to print the A4 print at 100% scale. US letter, which is the other type of paper format they have here in the States, it's smaller than A4, so I can't actually print this at 100%. I think it ends up being like 80% or something like that, so it's not actually to scale. So by using the US letter, I can print it at 100%, and it just has a little bit of wastage on the sides and the bottom, which is why it looks like it's not using the whole sheet. But if you're in the UK and you print it out on A4, it should be fine. And it didn't take a lot of toner. It's printed out pretty quick, so I was quite happy with that. So basically use that, like I said, along the side and the edge. I also needed a texture for inside the boiler house. So I went with this texture sheet from scenery.com. This one didn't actually have a code printed on it, but I believe it is rough flooring. So if you search their website for rough or flooring or a combination of those keywords, you should be able to find this texture sheet. And it's quite nice. It's you can see there it's kind of a cement flooring, and it looks like it's been torn up quite a bit. So it's like pretty good for inside of industrial buildings. And what I did was I cut out a piece there in the bottom corner that was basically the size of the base of the boiler house. So I put that in there and glued it to the baseboard. And then the final sheet that I used was I think it's a textured rough cement texture, and the product code for this is TX106. It's a double O at the end. So this particular came with two sheets, and it had this is sort of a rough texture sheet of the cement, so you can see it's got a lot of stains and oil on it. And then there's a kind of rougher looking texture sheet that had, broken cement sections and stuff like that. So it kind of looked like it was a heavily used kind of work area. So I used that for around the chimney and around the edge of the building, because I basically had a kind of a cool storage area back in here. And so it kind of made sense that they would have used some equipment back and forth, or you drag tools, and it would have been a lot more traffic over this section going from the boiler house to the cool section to get that. So that was kind of like more of a rough kind of work area, and so that worked out pretty well as well. And then finally, what I used was the scenery.com's old brick wall along the back here to basically break the scene. So I started the wall about here, ran it to the back, and then ran it across here, and then I used the gates on the back here to make it look like there used to be kind of track access for maybe when the train used to come along and deliver stuff to the brewery. So I also used some woodland scenics bushes along the front to break between here and the track, and then also along the outside between the wall and the track, just to give it a little more character. Then the last thing I did was weather the whole thing, and then it was good to go. So now that you know how I did it, let's go take a look at the finished product. Okay, so we're back over here at the layout, and you can see the finished product. Here in the front we have the woodland scenics bushes. You can see that we have the cobblestone, and we've weathered that as well. Here in the back we have the scenery.com's gates part of the wall, and then the wall goes all the way along the back to here and then comes across here, and I'll show you that in a minute. Then we have the scalescenes.com boilerhouse building. As you can see, it looks pretty nice. We've weathered it up, and we also have some soot and some other stuff on the chimney, and I'll show you that. And then kind of here off in the corner there's a coal pile, and so on. So the idea is that this is basically an extension of the brewery. The third rail line runs along the back there, and then we have the line here that's part of the outer loop. Now this is glued down, but the brewery building hasn't been glued down yet because there's a set of points, and I also need to ballast and weather the track behind it, and I also need to figure out what kind of back scene I'm going to go and put here between the wall and the surface, just to make it look a little more detailed, because right now it looks white, and while it looks okay on camera, in real life it just looks like, you know, it's sitting up against the wall. So I need to put some kind of back scene in there. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the camera up and give you some shots of the thing, and that's basically it. So I hope you found the video useful, and until next time.